This video contains anime-only content.
We finally get the official trailer for JJK Season 3, and there is a lot going on here. Not only does it reveal some pretty significant looking characters, it also reveals some vital plot points. Let's get into it. The trailer opens up with Megumi explaining that Norito Shikamo, aka Fake Ghetto, has set up a death game between those he granted cursed techniques, calling it the Culling Game. As we know, Norito Shikamo is just one of the countless names he's used throughout history, but with Megumi referring to him as such, I guess we'll be referring to him as Kamo instead of Fake Ghetto now. The next image is of this person wielding some sort of weapon. He's definitely one of the players of the Culling Game, and seems to be trying to rack up points quickly, as we can see by what looks to be human remains behind him. The next image we see isn't clear, but I believe it's of a character we see later in the trailer, which we'll refer back to once we get there. But this guy has some blood splashing on him, so he either gets hurt really bad, or that's from someone else. We see a building being warped, which is probably the result of someone's cursed technique. The next image we see is pretty ominous looking. It's of this guy sitting in a dark room surrounded by all these pieces of floating paper. Maybe his ability has something to do with controlling paper. But I also believe we see the face of this person later in this trailer, which I'll refer back to. Next we see a guy laying on a roof smoking. This guy looks like one of those typical anime teen bad boys with the tall hair and thick jacket who's an asshole but everybody loves. His seemingly carefree attitude despite being the middle of the Culling Game makes me want to believe this guy is going to be a fan favorite. The next notable thing we see are these huge structures. Right off the bat I assume these things were barriers to contain the sorcerers participating in the Culling Game. As we know from Rule 1 of the Culling Game, after awakening a cursed technique, players must declare their participation at a barrier of their choice within 19 days. Barrier of their choice means there's multiple options. In this case, it seems like there's two. Next is a scene we see in the movie, with Megumi begging Yuji to help him save his sister-in-law, Tsumiki, who is now an awakened sorcerer. We get some scenes of the empty city. When I first saw how abandoned the city was, I was very surprised. I thought it would be completely plagued with cursed spirits running around. As we know, it was stated that around 10 million cursed spirits were released at the end of the Shibuya incident. So either Yuji and Choso were putting in some crazy work off screen to get the city to look like this, or the cursed spirits prefer to stay hidden by nature. We see some scenes of Yuji luring in cursed spirits and taking them out with Choso. There's a glimpse of Sukuna within his domain, just chilling and biding time, waiting for the most opportune moment to enact his devious plans with Megumi. We see the scene of Yuki and her squad confronting Tengen in that white room. We then see some notable close-up images. Yuji, Megumi, and Yuta are all visibly sweating. We also see Maki looking more serious. Based on these reactions, it seems like Tengen is revealing some very serious information to the crew. As for what it's about, I think we hear a little bit of it later in the trailer, which I will come back to once we get there. Then we get the scene of Yuji rocking some Naruto-themed clothes and walking with this absolutely jacked man into this clearing. What I'm thinking is that all these people standing around are sorcerers that are taking part in the Culling Game. Maybe this is where they come to declare that they are participating. For a second I was thinking maybe all the sorcerers had an agreement, where instead of running and hiding and making it more difficult to progress in the game, they agree to meet up over here to have these battle royales. But I changed my mind on that based on the next image we see of Yuji smiling cheerfully. I don't think he'd be that chipper walking up to a death battle. Although it is nice to see Yuji with his smile back, because that's the Yuji we all know and love. I wonder what made him regain his positivity. Now the next image is the one I was most hyped about, because this is a character I've been waiting for years to see. So let me start this off by saying that I've been spoiled about what the name of this character is. But it's weird because it's kind of a spoiler, but kind of not at the same time. Let me explain. If you don't want to hear the name of this character yet for whatever reason, then skip this part. But this character's name is Hakari. But what's cool is that we see this character introduced all the way back in Season 1, Episode 6. Specifically the 6-minute 56-second mark, if you want to go back and look. But what's crazy is that Gojo mentions him alongside Yuta as being especially talented sorcerers that will become on par with him. So Hakari is a certified badass. To be mentioned alongside Yuta, who is a special grade sorcerer, is an awesome flex. I believe he's a first grade sorcerer though, because if he was a special grade, then that would have been established. So that leads me to believe that he's weaker than Yuta. However, with how insanely unique and broken some cursed techniques are, I don't think it's as simple as Yuta is a higher rank, so he's definitely stronger than Hakari. Power scaling aside, his previous character design looks almost entirely different from what we see in the trailer. That's why I said it's kind of a spoiler, but kind of not. Because if you weren't told that the guy in the trailer is Hakari, then there's no way anyone would have put two and two together that these are the same character. And oh man, do I love this character redesign. This guy's freaking yoked. He's giving me total vibes. And with how we see him and Yuji walking together, he may just be Yuji's next light-skinned brother. Aside from this Chadley man, I want you to pay attention to the background and the lines on the ground. It looks like he's facing off with someone in a parking lot. Keep that in mind. Now we see Hakari and this girl laying next to each other being intimate. She refers to him as Kin-chan, so I guess Hakari's full name is Hakari Kin. This girl has some crazy looking eyes though, and that's probably because of her curse technique. It may even be hereditary like Gojo 6 Eyes. But who is this girl? She's either a student, probably a third year like Hakari, or an awakened sorcerer that he met. However, their familiarity with each other makes me think that she's a fellow classmate of his. In the next image we see this girl probably facing off against someone. I told you to remember that image of Hakari in the parking lot, because it looks like we see this girl in the same parking lot. They both appear to be fighting someone. Either she turned on him and they're fighting it out, or they're both facing other people in the same area. Hopefully it's the latter. With this girl's design and vibe, I think she's going to be a fan favorite. We see some clips of Choso and Naoya fighting, which we saw in the movie. The dialogue in this next image reveals a pretty big plot point. I believe it's Tengen speaking, if I can recall correctly what she sounds like from the end of the movie. But she's saying that the Angel's Curse technique can open the back of the prison realm. Remember how we talked about the reactions of Yuki's crew earlier and how it's due to something Tengen is saying? Well, I think this information here may be part of that. This one sentence reveals a lot. First, the fact that Tengen knows this means she may be working with Kamo, or she is able to procure some very significant information by other means. We know Tengen's been around since the Nara era, as stated in Season 2, Episode 4, which takes place before even the Heian era. We also know Kamo has awakened some sorcerers by having them become vessels from sorcerers of past eras. Maybe the Angel Sorcerer is one of those people, and maybe Tengen has seen their abilities from hundreds of years ago. Second, it's revealed that the Angel's Curse technique can open the prison room. This is an interesting statement because does that mean you need a certain curse technique to open the prison realm? I assume Kamo can open it whenever he wants because he opened it in the first place. But what special technique does he have to open it? Maybe only the current owner of the prison realm can open and close it. And if you're not the owner, then you need a special technique. If that's the case, then it's not as simple as obtaining the prison realm to set Gojo free. You know, if you consider simple as surviving the Culling Game, finding Kamo, defeating Kamo, who is a special grade sorcerer, and then obtaining the prison realm if he even has it on him. So they have to do all that, and then they need a certain curse technique to open the prison room. So they have to find this angel girl, or even catch her, which is a feat because she can fly, and then convince her to open the prison room on top of everything else. The odds are definitely stacked against our heroes. Or, excuse me, sorcerers. My bad, Megumi. This next scene is interesting because I thought it was Kamo at first, since this person seems to be holding the prison room. It looks different from before, but this is probably just its fully locked state or something. But as for who's holding it, the image we see of Tengen later shows that she has the same outfit on. So it's Tengen that has the prison realm. So forget all I said about Kamo having a prison realm. This might be confirmation that Tengen is fully on Kamo's side. That, or the situation is more complicated than we think, and there's a reason Tengen has it. If Tengen does have the prison realm and is quote-unquote bad, you would think, oh, easy pickings, given that Yuki and Yuta are special grade sorcerers, Choso's a special grade, and everyone else is around first grade. But Tengen might have them at a standstill. Maybe she threatened to undo barriers that would lead to countless deaths of people or something similar. We see Gojo chilling and tossing a back scratcher. I bet he's used that mid-fight against countless curses. This reminds me of the Shibuya incident where people are trapped inside the veil. However, we don't know if these people are trapped inside or out. We do know that there will be normal people trapped inside the barrier for the Culling Game because according to the rules, non-sorcerers are worth 1 point. We see some scenes of Yuji versus Yuta that we saw in the movie. In this scene, we see a huge explosion coming out the building, which is probably the result of a battle. Can't wait to see who has such a destructive curse technique. In this scene, what I think is happening is that Yuji and Megumi are about to enter one of the barriers for the Culling Game, which triggers this Shikigami of some sort to come out on top. It seems like it's telling them the rules for the Culling Game. Every other player was probably educated in a similar manner. This image is crazy. At first I thought it was Yuta with some sort of cursed spirit in one of those execution rooms, but on closer inspection, it's Kusakabe and Panda. And it seems that Panda is locked up. We know that Yaga has been sentenced to execution, so this probably means Panda by extension as well. After the events of the Shibuya incident, Kusakabe said he is in favor of Yuji's execution. But if he's in charge of the execution of Panda, that's terrible because it seemed like they were vibing last season. But I feel like Kusakabe isn't on board with executing Panda because it's unfair if you think about it. So I feel like he's going to free him in some way. This person we can barely make out, but it looks like he has a blindfold like Gojo. This is the full scope of the barriers for the Culling Game. When we saw it earlier in the trailer, it looked like it was just forming. We see Tengen talking about the star plasma vessel and Gojo's 6 eyes. There are lines connecting all these points. Maybe Tengen is saying that she wants to obtain the 6 eyes somehow. Apparently the definition of Tengen means the center of heaven. This could be a hint into Tengen's motives. Maybe if Tengen is able to claim the 6 eyes, then she and Geto would be able to optimize and monopolize cursed energy at an even greater scale. Possibly even the whole world. Tengen would be at the center of this all, just as her name suggests. The center of heaven. This timer shows the time until Tsumiki must enter the Culling Game. It shows 10 days, 14 hours, and 59 minutes. From the rules, we know that they have 19 days to enter. Otherwise, their curse technique will be extracted. Losing your curse technique sounds better than participating in a death game, especially in Tsumiki's shoes. But maybe her curse technique is essential to keeping her out of a coma or something like that, so she has to participate. This may be Tengen keeping track of all the participants of the Culling Game. The animation in the scene is awesome. We see Naoya straight blitzing Maki using his technique. As for why they're fighting, we know Naoya was out to kill Megumi, so maybe Maki is protecting him by fighting Naoya herself. We see Yuji and Hakari butting heads with Yuji yelling at him to listen, which Hakari respectfully refused. This scene's awesome because we hear that Hakari has the same voice actor as Zoro from One Piece. His voice is universally known to be badass, so I think it's super fitting that Hakari has it. We see Maki fighting these ninja monks like we saw in the teaser trailer. It's more apparent in the teaser, but Maki seems to be using the weapons that Toji has used before. I've always thought that if Maki had access to Toji's arsenal, then that would be an awesome power-up. I'm glad that that actually became a thing. But who are these ninja monks? They seem to be the foot soldiers of some sort of faction. So either Jujutsu High, one of the clans, or some other faction we have yet to see. They remind me of those assassin-looking guys that Kusakabe and Panda fought against in the Shibuya arc. However, their appearance and weapons look different. Maybe the Zenin clan has foot soldiers. We saw that Maki and Naoya are fighting, so maybe before or after this, Naoya sent these guys after Maki and Mai. I say Mai because we hear Maki talking to Mai about how she'll get started. Megumi looks like he was fighting someone and is getting beat up, but his fight was interrupted by this half-naked guy. He looks goofy as hell, but I'm willing to bet he's very strong. We see what looks to be a cursed spirit or Shikigami here, and it looks like it's being controlled by this lawyer/judge guy with a hammer. We see a glimpse of the curse/Shikigami here, that's why I think he's controlling it. This guy is definitely strong, just going off his presence. However, this is the guy I believe we saw in the beginning, the one with the blood all over him. You can see that the suit and button are the same. Yuji is getting flown through a building by this person's flying headbutt. Maybe this is what leads to that explosion coming out the side of the building we saw earlier. At first I thought this was the angel because this person has wings, but the design is totally different. You can even see this person wearing some purple shades in this image. This girl has some interesting hair. Remember that image earlier of the guy sitting in the room with the paper floating around him? Well, I think it's this guy. You can see he's wearing what looks to be random pieces of paper. So I think we found our ominous looking floating paper man. There's a car hurtling towards Megumi and we see him begin to summon Divine Dog Totality instead of just getting out of the way. Lastly, we see Yuji in a theater gathering a ton of cursed energy into his fist for a very strong right-handed smackdown. And that's all my thoughts on this awesome trailer. This was a lot of fun breaking down. I absolutely can't wait for Season 3, which is coming out soon on January 8th next year. So stay strong, people. We're almost there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm on a journey to monetize this channel, which requires thousands of hours of watch time on my videos. So if you made it this far, I'm especially grateful to you. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because that helps a ton. I'll see you in the next one.